I'm joined here once again with Louis, and now we have Jose because the movie was just that big. You guys have seen my review. You guys know what I thought of it. Jose, why don't you start?
Okay, so I guess I'll start by walking to the movie theater.
Let's give a little background.
Yeah, so we went a week early, and it was packed. And I can't believe how packed it was. We didn't even get to watch it at IMAX, but we still got to watch it. And I noticed, did you notice the FBI?
Yeah, we still aren't entirely sure if that was FBI or police or what that was.
Yeah, it was heavy security. So anyways, so we go in there about 20, 30 minutes early, and we're sitting around. And so the movie pops on, we got our glasses on, and right away, I mean, it jumps in, and it's like action. So, and it goes action to the whole thing. So the movie to me was basically all action. The story wasn't so. So I would probably give it a 7 to 10. I mean, I liked it, but I wish I had more story behind it.
So you were like a 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Louis?
Oh, I didn't have the experience y'all had, apparently. FBI and walking, apparently, involved with y'all's movies.
Yeah, we had the VIP treatment. They were patting us down and everything.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
wanted and everything.
So I saw it on IMAX 3D. I have no backstory for this at all. Other than
mine is a lame story.
Yeah. Other than I'm gonna say right off the bat, I am probably the most biased though because I absolutely love all of Del Toro's work. Just obsessed with it. So I love the movie like through and through. Just fun. Probably the most fun I had all summer so far this year with any movie. It was.
That's impressive.
Everything, yeah. Because Man of Steel I loved. It was amazing. But Man of Steel was a downer kind of. Had that whole Nolan feel to it where it's dark and a little gritty, I guess. And this was just fun. It's just all out fun. So once again, I would have to say because I fucking love everything he does is a 10.
You're a 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of those movies to me where like as I was doing the review, like I was originally going to score it like a bit lower, probably closer to like a 7 or an 8. But it was one of those movies where like the more that I thought about it, the more it was just kind of one of those things where it's like I just had a good time with the movie. Like it was just one of those fun movies, like what you were talking about before, like that kind of awe-inspiring moment we had as a kid when we saw Independence Day.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was kind of what that movie was for me. It made me feel like that kid going to the movies and just being in awe of what I was seeing on the screen. And to that extent, I mean, a lot of it worked. Like Jose said, though, the thing that was a downer to me was the almost severe lack of character.
Yeah.
I mean, the main character, this is something that I didn't really kind of gel with too well, was that, you know, at the very, very beginning, and again, this is all spoilers in case you've forgotten, at the very beginning, his brother is like literally ripped out of the Jaeger that he's in, and he keeps referencing back to, you know, he was still connected to his brother when he died, so he felt all his fear and his experiences, everything like that. Okay, I understand 5 years has gone by, but I would still be a little torn up about that, and he didn't really seem all that affected by it. Like, not the way that you would expect him to be. That was what was kind of jarring for me.
Yeah.
It kind of took me out of it. But then on the opposite end of that, you have Rinko Kikuchi and Idris Elba more than filling out the characters for the entire movie.
They carried that heartbreak more than he did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that me and you were talking about, that the kind of flashback with Rinko as the little girl and Idris. Oh my god, that little girl was fantastic!
Oh,
I don't know what it is about Del Toro, but for some reason, every time he works with children, it seems to be an amazing performance every time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when she comes walking out after the attack and like the kaiju is dead, she comes walking out and like she's doing that kind of like shocked walk. It's like, my god!
Yeah.
I haven't seen it like a kid actor perform that way in like a long time. And she was on screen for so long, but it was just like, I want to take her home.
Yeah, to me it was almost a tearjerker right thing in there.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a heartwarming.
I mean, I have a little girl, so I mean, watching her be that terrified was like heartbreaking for me.
Yeah. The little touch of the shoe.
Oh
Almost
yes,
like the shoe, yeah.
where she's always carrying the shoe
Yeah,
with her.
it's like-
She doesn't. She can put it back on,
Yeah.
but she just carried it.
Yeah. It's just like it was a great little touch, little moment that just added to it even more.
I love the way that it actually started, where the whole thing of like don't chase the rabbit. That was kind of cool, you know, a little
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland nod there. But the way that she just kind of like walked into the memory almost. I mean,
Yeah.
you have that black background, and then like the ash is
Yeah.
coming in, and then like she turns around and she's a little girl.
Yeah.
That was really that felt to me Del Toro.
Yeah.
That felt like the one authentic thing in that movie for me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the whole movie feels like Del Toro to me.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the gears, the way the robots move, the way they're put together, that all feels like that. If you go back and you watch every Del Toro movie, there's always something that
yeah,
deals
like
with gears.
the Golden Army.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because
even
you can
past
see
that.
all the like I'm saying like that as a
Okay.
comparison, like his earlier work, like Hellboy 2, the Golden Army. When you see those mechs start building and repairing and everything, yeah.
Well, not just, I mean, other things too, like the way some lines of dialogue are said,
Yeah.
like Hannibal Chow when he's like, "Are you funning with me?" or
Yeah, like that kind of offset way
it's
that
kinda
people
weird.
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's something that a lot of directors try and duplicate in movies. They try and have their own little spin on how dialogue is said or works, or their own like kind of sub language. Brick is the one that stands out the most for me. But this is one of those where it felt organic. It actually felt like, you know, this is something like it just kind of works a lot better in this kind of world than it would in another. Let's talk about a little bit about the drift itself, where the two pilots' minds actually kind of meld together. What did you guys think of that idea as far as like commanding the mechs? Or would you have rather seen like individual pilots and individual mechs? Or was the drift kind of like the selling point for you?
To me, this is more of a futuristic type, so it's more like it's embedded inside you, so like it's mind control almost. But the whole drift with two different people, that was kind of, it's what really threw me off a little bit. And how you're saying about how he lost his brother and that feeling. I mean, it's got to be like, say if you were in a tragic accident, you're always going to remember that tragic accident, you know? So, I mean, something that hard for you to go back into that mech and go back into war would be really hard, and it seems like he overcame that.
A little too easily.
A little too easily, yeah. So, but
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of the drifting, like the way the brain works. Essentially, when they broke it down.
The right hemisphere and the left.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, it adds to that whole scene when his brother is ripped out and he has to operate the mech on his own. And it adds more weight, like, okay, this dude is good at what he does.
Yeah.
Because the only other person to operate it by themselves was Idris Elba's character. And so that adds more weight to it to me. I mean,
it does add a lot more weight to it, but again, it's just like with Idris Elba, whenever he piloted it by himself, and you know he goes back and he talks about like the Generation 1 Jaegers, and about how they didn't care about the radiation core, and so he's actually got radiation poisoning to the point where like if he steps in another Jaeger, it will literally kill him. I mean, that kind of backstory, that added so much more levity and gravity to whenever he finally put on that suit again and he's like, I'm your co-pilot. Versus just, I don't even remember the main guy's name anymore. Riley. Whenever Riley just like, all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to get back in a Jaeger because, you know, this is the kind of the last run. It's like, okay, what about the whole thing with your head and your brother's head and your head? And I don't know, it was just, it felt like the main character wasn't actually the main character to me.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love the movie. Through and through, I love it. Everything about it, I love. But I will, say that that's one of its flaws, huge flaws, is the main character not being nearly as strong as the other characters.
Exactly.
You know, and there's times he just seems really stiff compared to the other actors.
It's ridiculously stiff.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that part whenever they're doing the kind of stick battle to like test for the co-pilot. And he's like, all right, why don't you give her a go? And the way she just like looks at Idris Elba, I mean, that was like one of those kind of moments.
That's like straight out of an anime, though. does.
Yeah,
Like,
like
straight
she
from
even
an
has
anime.
like, I mean,
the eyes get big, and
and
she just
she's
looks
got
up.
the blue streaks of hair. I mean, how it's literally walking anime.
Yeah.
And then when you first see her, she looks really stiff. You know, when she's walking out and everything.
Yeah.
And like when she like.
Which is a beautiful shot, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, when
With
she
the
was walking
umbrella.
out with the umbrella
Yeah.
and that, she like puts it back and she
Yeah.
just kind of looks. Yeah, I mean, the whole movie itself was just fantastically framed and
Yeah.
shot, and it's just is something where I didn't understand a lot of the complaints behind it. Where like they were talking about the battles are so chaotic that you really can't see what's going on. I never had that. I never really had that happen to me.
This was nowhere near Transformer level of not.
Oh my god,
understanding
yeah. It's
what's
like,
going
what
on.
robot was that? What?
Yeah.
What? Oh,
Yeah.
that does bring up my biggest complaint, though, and it actually leads into my next topic. The fact that all the battles take place either at night or in severely dark areas was really kind of disappointing to me. I mean, you have all those areas where they're in like the hangar, and you get those great looks at the Jaegers, all their designs, and you know the gears like you were talking about. But these fantastic monster designs are always in the shadows, except for a few parts where they're actually like in like downtown Tokyo. I think it was.
I think that maybe that was. I would think that would be done purposely on a filmmaker's choice to make it look more real. Because when those mechs move and when the Jaegers move and the monsters move, they feel like they're in that world.
If they're sitting there in the daytime, they're there. It's a statue.
Yeah. Well, the news footage.
Yeah.
The news footage was during the day, but they never really gave you a clear shot.
Yeah.
But I kind of see what you're saying, especially like the parts where they're dragging the oil tanker down the street, and you can see like all the lights of the signs reflecting off the mech.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really great choice because you see some monsters or robots in other movies, and they never interact with the world almost.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost in their own place. But Del Toro somehow got it to work where it's always raining, it's always snowing, there's ash falling.
But then again, Del Toro's movies are always dark, and it's always raining, cold.
That's very true. I mean, he uses the elements a lot in his pictures, and I think that does, like what you said, it adds more to it.
And it's almost like the world of the character itself, like the way he builds on these places and just has a great world building. The way he achieves it, the world building, is just incredible. Like, not very many filmmakers can do what he does when it comes to building a world and believing in it. Like the way they have the black market going on, and you've got these scientists who run around trying to figure out why the kaiju do what they do. Kaiju do what they do, and it's just great stuff. Like you're just like, God, I want to know more about this world.
Yeah.
The Jaegers and like what other Jaegers were involved with the first generation.
Okay, so now one of the main questions I wanted to ask you guys is, how did you feel about the fact that the movie skipped ahead so many years? It's essentially like 10 years, I think, into the future after the first kaiju attack. Is that something that actually kind of worked for you, or would you have rather have seen like from the first kaiju to them building the first Jaeger, the first fight, everything like that, instead of oh, we're 5 years into the future and we're winning this fight, and then suddenly everything changes, and then all of a sudden they're building this wall that does absolutely nothing, and then the final confrontation. Like, did you like the fact that the movie seemed to take place over the course of, let's say, between 10 and 15 years, because I don't remember exactly, or would you have rather seen from that very first attack up until, the, I guess, pseudo ending, depending on how well it does, we get the sequel, that kind of thing.
I mean, that would have to be in a movie entirely by itself. If you go from the beginning, because it'd be like, say, like, they would make a sequel, and it would be
A prequel.
Yeah, like a prequel, and it would have to be.
But did you like the idea that it started at where it started, or would you have rather seen
from like the very, very beginning instead of starting someone in the middle?
From Aaron's very long question he just asked.
No, I mean,
I suppose I could have paraphrased, but I like to be detail oriented.
To me, they made it seem more realistic because, I mean, let's be honest, technology, you can't, snap a finger, we got a huge mech outside.
Yeah.
It takes technology, it takes time. So I'm guessing the 10 years that it took them to get where they were, which is still pretty short to me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did all right, and it made it real realistic for that.
I preferred it that way, to be honest, because it didn't feel like a movie that was trying very hard to be a franchise almost. it's like
it's a very standalone movie.
It was like, we're gonna tell our story no matter what. How we're gonna do. We're not gonna be like, oh, this character needs to live because I want him back in the sequel, or I want this character here because he needs to be back also. You know, it was kind of like, we're gonna tell this story here, the way it needs to be done. I enjoyed it. I've been hearing complaints about people wish that it almost felt like the end of a trilogy almost.
Yeah, like you fit the entire trilogy
Yeah.
into a single movie almost.
Or it's the end of one, you know. It's the last movie, you know.
Yeah, that does bring up another point. Like, what did you guys think of the ending with the tunnel and them actually going through and both of the main characters somehow making it out unscathed? Me personally, I would have preferred to have seen the guy die. Like that glorious sacrifice kind of a thing. Like he just somehow magically made it out in that last splinter of time. You know, that kind of thing. He just kind of. I think it would have been a lot more impactful. You know, if he saved her and then kind of went down with the.
So to me, I think like the one dying, the Ibris.
And the son.
Yeah. So he was like the father, and him sacrificing himself. I think that was the death of the movie. You know what I mean? Like that was their moment. That was a moment, and then them two surviving it was more like a love story, but not a true love story.
That's the other thing too, is there was that whole kind of love story tension there, but they never actually
shoehorned it in.
Yeah, like I actually like that they didn't kind of force that romantic relationship in there, and like even at the very end, they don't have that cliche kiss, you know, whenever they're he's alive, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, me too. I personally wish he would have died too down there.
It would have, to me, it would have been a lot more kind of a solid thing, like, you know.
But I guess maybe I'm just guessing here. Like maybe studios were like, we already had this many characters die.
This many characters have already bitten it.
Yeah. So can we please have these people survive? You know, this is a fun film. It's supposed to be a summer movie. You know, so I could see where maybe he had to give some leeway or whatever for that. But I mean, it was still kind of cool seeing that fall. It just slowly fall.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I understand they had the booster rockets, but that was like the slowest fall ever for that mech. Like, you know, timer's counting down, and they're just looking at it like, what is that?
Oh, and then like he's falling, right, and he like gets off and he like runs down and goes to the turbine and he like does a manual. I'm like,
arm the nuclear device,
and you're falling.
He's not spinning around or falling around. Yeah.
So it's
movie logic, man.
That's rim logic.
Yeah.
That sounds dirty. One of my favorite parts of the very end of the film was whenever the Idris Elba's mech actually detonated their nuclear device, and you have that kind of like not Noah's Ark. Why is that?
Where he parts them.
Yeah, the parting of the Red Sea moment, where like it's just like Moses.
So we're not religious.
I'm going back to Sunday school. But like, that whole parting of the Red Sea kind of moment where like their fish are falling and everything, and even I was like for a second like, what the?
Yeah,
hell? And then,
that was so good.
Because I was like, what in the? And then like all of a sudden it's like, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. That was a cool.
Yeah, because you have that explosion, it's like, boom, and then. Oh, that does bring up one other thing. If their minds are like linked together, which they continually kind of pointed out, well, you're gonna know what I'm thinking because you're gonna be in my head in a second. How did he not know that the Jaeger had that sword? Whenever they went up into the atmosphere, and she did.
And she pulled it out.
Yeah, she just like rips this sword out of nowhere. It's like, okay, so she had to have been planning this at some point.
You know what that is?
Plot hole?
Nitpicking.
Nitpicking?
Yeah, nitpicking.
I can nitpick.
That was such a cool moment, though, man.
I can nitpick. This is what I do.
I love that part too. That she does it in her language, her language.
Yeah, the back and forth like between English and
it just felt like another anime moment. Like it was just ripped out of some anime.
The entire film felt like just one of those fantastic, anime movies that we've always wanted to transfer to the live action screen, but instead we get things like Dragon Ball. What were some of your guys' favorite moments? Like top tier moments.
The scientist.
The scientist, Charlie, yeah. Oh my God, yes.
Well, both of them, they both had their moments. They were going back and forth, and it kind of makes
that overlapping dialogue was fantastic.
But it makes you want to pick, who's who. But in the end, they were both right. You know, and it's wild that.
Whenever they drift into the baby kaiju and the British scientist comes out of it and there just happens to be that toilet right there that he runs over to and throws up in.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
That was.
I mean, there was a surprising amount of humor in the movie, and a lot of it did come from Charlie.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how like when they were drifting, the two scientists, and there were like the memories and stuff. You seen when he was getting his tattoos
Yeah.
and stuff.
That was cool. Yeah.
That was great. Lewis?
Idris Elba. Everything with Idris Elba.
Anytime he's on screen.
Anytime that dude's on screen, I was just like.
Number 1, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Number 2, don't ever touch me.
Everything with that dude, I was just like, wow, this dude's great. And then the child.
Oh, the little girl.
With the red
Oh,
suit.
yeah.
Yes.
And that was those were always a standout for me. Like I almost wish they were the main characters of the film. You know?
Yeah, that's one of those things too, where like that was just. It's one of those things where you don't know, like, did the script have all these moments there, or was it something that the actors just kind of brought to it? And the guy who played Riley, he just didn't feel his character had all those moments. So it's just kind of like, is it the talent of the actors, or is it the talent of the writers that made these characters stand out more than the main character himself?
I've never seen this guy really before.
Sons of Anarchy.
I've never seen that show.
Yeah.
Never.
He looks a lot smaller than this one. It's something else. He looks a lot.
He probably wears a lot of leather. Sons of
True.
Anarchy.
I wouldn't know.
One of my favorite moments was the enormous battle.
Yeah.
Where, it takes out the two Jaegers, like the Russian one, where like just literally rip the face off of that one. Yeah. And then the father and son one, where they go out there and they shoot the flare into the eye. But I mean, that whole battle where like they're throwing the gorilla kaiju and it's throwing them, and then that, especially like this is something else like Del Toro he's famous for, like the little details.
Yeah.
Like when the gorilla kaiju, and this is something you and I talked about. They gave them names, but we don't remember them because it was just like a one-off thing. Whenever he stepped up onto the dock and he stepped on that truck and it crushed. I mean, that's just one of those things where it's because there was that pause for a second where it's like, can it hold it? And then
that interaction with the environment.
Yeah. And then of course walking down the street with that oil tanker.
Yeah.
And
that was a really cool scene.
Boom.
Yeah.
And then it hiding from it. And then just coming through the wall, like slamming its face into the building, and then the fist with the little ding.
Yeah, that was a great little touch. I was like, wow, that was awesome.
That was great.
Yeah, and the monsters were incredibly detailed.
Yeah.
They were
man.
all varied and different.
That one moment where it's up on top of the building and it's got a hold of it, and it just like, and like the wings come out, and there's like, oh shit, kind of moment.
That was great, man. Yeah, it was just, and the way it just latches on, like. When it latched on, it latched on like a bird. Yeah, like.
So, what are your guys' final thoughts on the film? Like, anything we say here change your viewpoint on it, or like any other things you guys want to say about the movie, just in general?
I just.
Go see it.
Go see it. It's Del Toro.
Go support this movie.
Yes, please watch it so we can get more of it.
I hope this movie brings out more movies like this.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the main reasons that we want this movie to do well, is that there is more kind of these imaginative movies coming out.
Yeah.
Instead of just sequels, which of course we do want a sequel for Pacific Rim.
Yes.
Don't get us wrong. We'd like to see a sequel. I'd like if they came out with a sequel for that. I would much more prefer to see Rinko Kikuchi take over the main character spot and have Riley be more of a secondary character. Because, of course, Idris Elba did not survive the picture.
Yeah. Which saddens me a bit.
But it's one of those things where, like, as soon as he put on that suit, and they just got through telling you if he ever goes into a Jaeger again, he's going to die, it's like, he ain't walking out of this.
Yeah.
You forgot about the speech.
I don't really think a whole lot needs to be said about the speech.
I mean,
but that's one of those. That's why I compared it to Independence Day, because when you're watching this movie, you're just like smiling the whole time because it's so much fun.
Well, except for those times you're like, don't hurt the little girl.
So you're smiling ear to ear, and then Idris Elba gives a speech at the end, and you just are reminded of when you were a kid watching Independence Day when it came out.
But you feel empowered, like you want to get in one of those mechs. It just
Al Pacino, when he was the coach, and he had the speech. You don't remember that?
Any Given Sunday?
Is that any given Sunday?
Yes,
Speech?
yes.
That,
Yes.
speech.
The Pacific Rim speech, it ranks up there with
But
like
I
one
mean,
of those.
the only problem with that speech though is they gave it away in every trailer.
Every single trailer,
Well,
nearly
the
every
last
single
one,
trailer
it's a long
plays
speech.
that speech. No, the very
It's
first
pretty
trailer, they
good.
played most of the speech.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those things where, like, that would have been a great moment to hold off until after the movie was
Yeah.
actually released,
Because
and
then
then put the speech
Yeah.
in those commercials, get people more amped up. Because I don't know if they'd have left it out, and then when they, like, you know how they keep releasing TV spots and trailers after the movie comes out, if they'd have put that in a trailer, like, you know, like a week after the movie come out, that would make me want to go watch the movie again because it just gets you that pumped up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just hoping that the canceling apocalypse line becomes very,
I want a shirt.
very popular.
I want a T-shirt.
I hope it becomes the line like from 300.
Yes.
I can guarantee that speech will be on like some motivation video on YouTube.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
That's gonna, yeah, I can see that thing, like, at some point, like, if we ever, like, have another conflict or something like that, that'll be the speech that they're playing,
Yeah.
like, before we go into battle. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. How would you compare Pacific Rim to the rest of Del Toro's kind of filmography, like the rest of his films and in general, I guess even maybe some of his upcoming stuff, which we don't really know a whole lot about.
Just
but
Crimson Peak.
but you know, his name's on it, so we're excited about it.
Yeah.
But
His
like
name's on almost everything.
his name's on like 12 pictures
Yeah.
that probably will never get made.
Uh,
But comparatively,
where does
Pacific Rim, like where does that fall
for
in his catalog?
I don't know. He made a masterpiece with Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really.
You can't. I've never seen a better film to me. It was just, it's a masterpiece. But through his other work, I mean, I think this is his best English language film. I think
Yes.
his best English language film. 'Cause
Yes.
Mimic, of course, was famously known for being tampered with through the whole
A
production.
lot of problems there.
And then Hellboy is good. It's strong. It's a great film. But I think it takes a few times of watching to finally fall in love with that movie.
Exactly. I didn't like that movie the first probably 2 times I watched it, and then like it's one of those movies where like over time I became a really big fan.
And then Hellboy 2 it's a great fun movie, and I think that's when you really get to see where he becomes that visual
He
artist.
gets more into his
Yeah.
comfort,
Yeah.
kind of like what he always envisioned the Hellboy franchise to
Yeah.
be, kind of a thing.
And then Blade 2 was just, at the time when it came out, we were like, holy shit, this is a fucking comic book movie that kicks ass, man.
And then Blade Trinity made us forget about the whole franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think this is his best English language film, but compared to his Spanish films, I think it still falls behind Devil's Backbone and Pan's and
Kronos.
yeah.
To me, I really liked it. It's all dark, just like the rest of his movies, and I guess that's what we'll see from him. I don't think we'll see anything else. But
We don't want a bright and cheery Del Toro film. Like that would just be weird and off-putting at this point.
But I mean, like I hope he makes more movies like this, and I really like his imagination. I like his creatures. His creatures are really good.
He has like a childlike feel to his film.
Childlike imagination.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Where he literally takes your nightmares and puts them there in front of you.
but he does it so beautifully. It's so beautifully done, though. Everything, it's just like, God, like, it makes you sad if you're a filmmaker. You're just like, I will never make anything this good.
Well, that was a good career choice while it lasted.
Yeah.
Let me go start making artsy movies. Anything else you guys want to contribute? Or?
The trailer before that, I got to see Gravity, the IMAX 3D
Oh,
trailer.
I get goosebumps every single time.
Oh, that was amazing. And from what I heard, I read too that he had brought in Alfonso Cuarón and
yes.
Alejandro
Yes.
to tweak his film.
To look over the editing,
Yeah.
and he did the same with Gravity and
Yeah,
stuff
he
like
did
that. So
how fucking cool is that?
it's
They call it-
filmmakers helping filmmakers. You
but
don't
not
really
just any
see that.
filmmakers, you know. You're talking about a filmmaker who made probably one of the best films in the last decade, Children of Men.
Oh my god.
I mean, you could call him up and be like, hey, come check out my film and see what you think, and take out.
I want a friend like that. Yeah.
I mean,
Which is like on speed dial.
yeah, which was great, you it was cool that it's not very long either. You know, it's right at the 2-hour mark. So right at the real good comfort zone. It doesn't go Nolan eyes.
It covered a
2
lot.
hours and 45 minutes.
It covered a lot of ground for just being a 2-hour movie. One thing I did want to ask you guys, like, what did you guys think of the Ron Perlman's cameo, the Hannibal Chow?
Oh, great. He stole every scene, man. Every scene he was in, he was just so
The
good.
boots.
Yeah.
And the with the baby.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, he saw it right off, you know, wrapped around its neck.
Yeah. And I missed this. I didn't stay until the end credits. Y'all saw this where he comes back out. I didn't know. I thought he was dead. I thought he was done
He
for.
cuts his way out.
That's
he
what.
asked for a shoe. Doesn't
Yeah, he goes like he comes out and cuts his way out with that little switchblade. Where the hell is my shoe?
Yeah.
But this is like I was telling you. It's one of those things. It's one of those moments that raises more questions than it answers. And
But still,
I don't want to go into it because you're gonna say I'm nitpicking again.
No, but you know what the answer is? He's Ron Perlman.
He's indestructible.
Yeah. He does what he wants.
If he gets angry enough, he'll turn into Hellboy.
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, thanks for sitting through and listening to us completely spoil the newest release. Check back with us next month. We're going to be talking about Neil Blomkamp's Elysium.
Yeah.
We look forward to you joining us.
Matt
See you next time.
Man.
Charlotte Copley, man.
Yeah.
Looks insane. All right.
Yeah, I hope it's not that long.
Fantastic way to start.
That was Carl's Jr.
Carl Jr.
All right, ready?
I'll be like, you don't do that.
What are you doing?